Hi, Alex here, and we've got another question. And won't be using my Paul voice today, but I'll just be using my own. So this question comes from Mika from the US, based in Essex County, New Jersey, not too far from where I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland. I'm wearing my kind of repping here with my Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center t shirt, as it's where I got my first keyboard, a Proteus MPS Plus, and my first guitar, an Ibanez Gem 90 Ham. Traded it in for a VBK, which is my green guitar, which you might have seen in the last video. And there's some gear that we trade in or sell or get rid of because we have to or because we just do, and that we regret. That Gem 90 Ham is one that I regret because they are pricey now. Whew. All that said, let's get on to the questions. What is your favorite chord progression when composing a majority of tracker music for the demo scene and video games in general? So, my go-to for years was 1/6. And the 1/6 being the easiest 1/6 on a keyboard anyway, and that would be A minor to, is it F major? I think. So A to F, and that would be super easy to do. In fact, let's have some entertainment. Oh wait, that's right. I'm recording, so if I put this on, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make it easy. Oh, and I learned a little something about lavalier miking on the last recording. So this is already muted. So let me listen. Let me tell you what. What I'm going to do is mute the mic. Live engineers. My hat's off to you. So let's mute the mic, and then I'll do the 1/4 progression real quick on speakers. There you have it. So that's one. There's another one that I will mute and do that is just sort of 1/6/4/6, I think, and that's represented in Melancholy by Andy Sega. So check that out. Let me mute again. So there you go. 1/6/4/1/6/4/6 actually. And so that's among my favorites. But there's other ones like if you listen to "In the House of Stone and Light" by hold on, and Light by Martin Page. It's a '90s classic. There's this bridge section where he goes ba 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 ba, and it does like a half step, which is really cool. So there's a lot of progressions that I like, but those are sort of go-tos. They're super simple and easy. They're the ones I started with, so I wouldn't say that those are necessarily favorite, but I still like them. They're classics and they've lasted a while. Not only that, but how do you get inspired to compose a certain piece for a game like Deus Ex? That's a pretty big question. It starts with what the game presents in terms of like so. With Unreal, there was a lot of amazing artwork and concept art that turned into these vast fantasy-ish levels, fantasy sci-fi. Whereas Deus Ex was a little more enclosed. Yes, there was some cool visuals, but not to the level of Unreal. It was more about the story. Um, but the inspiration and the samples kind of still derived from similar sources as Unreal. So yeah, it really depends in terms of the inspiration, like the nature of the game. And back then, like as we moved forward with technology and the graphics and the art and all of that was so much more obvious in terms of how it would change. The inspiration was easier. Now we've got hyper realistic, not yet. We still haven't gotten out of that uncanny valley in terms of human movement and animation and motion capture and lip movement and all that. You can't. I mean, even with the Unreal demo with Keanu Reeves, like I could tell when they would go back and forth from real Keanu to Unreal Keanu, and we're getting closer. We're not there yet. We haven't gotten to that point that when I go into an arcade and I see Afterburner versus Pac-Man, the difference was so much more obvious. So that helped with the inspiration too. Are you considering working on more indie games by smaller and more talented creators? Well, I think the talent. There's lots of talent at Insomniac. There's lots of talent at in 343. There's lots of talent spread all over the place. Lots of talent at Nintendo. I've worked with some people at Retro Studios, and they're super talented. I've worked with a lot of different people at major studios, but as far as indie games go, yes. The answer is yes. There's an organization called the Seattle Indie. It's Seattle Indie Group, but then the Seattle Indies Expo is coming up on the tail edge of PAX. I'm going to be hitting a couple of their events, meeting some people, but the goal that I have there is to try to help everybody. The industry is not great right now, and there's people that are probably emptying credit cards in order to get their passions out. So yes, the goal is to work on more indie games. Having said that, thanks for the questions, Mika, and I'll see you on the next one.